What's going on out there, everybody? Thanks for tuning into your soul mapping astral weather report for this big full lunar eclipse weekend of January 19th and 20th, 2018. I'm Aeon, and the Astral Weather Report is where I synthesize aspects of astrology, the I Ching, human design, gene keys, and a little bit of Akashic intuitive wisdom to give you a better idea of some of the energies that will be at play today from the genetic all the way on up to the cosmic levels. Well, talk about a massive weekend we have here. It's been building this entire week up to this big full moon lunar eclipse, and there is just so much to go over today. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump over into the chart so I can get into some of these notes that I have. I'm going to be referencing these notes because it's just crazy how much we have going on in the charts this weekend. So for starters, we have the sun that's over here on the 60.4. It's still coming off this conjunction with the south node that's just been highlighted recently. It's on the 60.4. Of course, the earth is up here on the 56.4. And, you know, both of these codes, the 60 and the 56, have been in play for some time now. The nodes have been here. The sun's just been highlighting this. The lunar eclipse that we have on Sunday is also going to be highlighting this energy. And this is just all about really working within the systems and structures and limitations and boundaries, coming to an acceptance of those limitations and boundaries, and now, creating something new out of that, and also bringing a new structure to our own personal story, this path that we're on to create more comfort and really ground into this solid identity that we have that's going to be part of our new world and our new journey that we're going on here. I think today specifically we're going to be looking at how we can be resourceful, maybe kind of protect ourselves as we work within these certain rules and boundaries. This is about kind of like almost like putting on a little bit of a face in order to keep ourselves safe. This could be like, imagine kind of going into like a job interview or something like that. And, you're not quite just going to go all out and totally be yourself. You're not going to be necessarily inauthentic, but it's like you kind of have to put on that face. Well, this is a business meeting. This is important. Like I have to present myself in a certain way. That these types of things can come up today. We have the moon that's going to be opposed Saturn, and this is one of the reasons this is going to be kind of like an interesting, maybe even somewhat of a wonky weekend as we build into this full moon eclipse coming into Sunday night, and then into Monday it's going to be kind of like entering into a new world. A major part of this is we have all of this action with the moon over here opposing all this energy over in Capricorn and then in Aquarius for the eclipse. And so this could be some tough stuff that we're moving through before we step into this kind of like new identity in this new world of where it is that we're going as we lead ourselves in this new direction that the North Node has been pointing us in for some time. And as the moon comes into this opposition with Saturn over here, we could be we need to be really careful when it comes to devising some sort of like a strategy as we come up with a proper response to obstacles that we may be encountering today or this weekend with Mercury coming off this conjunction with Pluto. Before we start to see our own truth and our brilliance within ourselves in a certain way things are unfolding, I think we need to come up with like the perfect plan for certain things. The moon is going to be squaring Mars over here too in Aries, and I think what this is saying is that we devise this strategy and come up with this response to these obstacles. This is really going to be key as we kind of like step into our own authority and power now as we move in these new directions. The sun is still in this big square with Uranus, which I posted about yesterday. I'm sure everybody kind of like felt these kind of like interesting, unexpected things. Maybe news come in. I definitely had some interesting things I was running into. It was just kind of like a crazy energy overall in the house. Like nervous system was uncomfortable. Lots of interesting things like this. But with the sun on the 60.4 now squaring over to Uranus, these things that we encountering might seem really chaotic in the moment, but it's all really kind of bringing us into this interesting shift and closer to this new world that we're going to be like walking into as we start into Monday and get into Tuesday. Of course, we still have this big square between Jupiter over here on the 5.5 squaring over to Neptune. We can still have like a lot of doubts on the timing of all this. It's like certain things are very unclear. It's like, how is this going to end up playing out, right? How does this fit into the bigger picture? But I think, with Jupiter's placement now, we have the ability to just kind of like relax and be at peace with it a little bit. It's like, well, I don't know how it's all working out, but like I kind of feel okay with being patient with seeing how certain things are going to unfold. Um, and then we have this a lot of big stuff starting to come in with Venus and Jupiter. Venus is coming into this conjunction with Jupiter, starting. This will be part of what we hit on Monday and Tuesday, but it's not quite yet. But we're definitely starting to feel that energy build. Before that, we have Venus coming into the square with Neptune, and also starting to conjunct Jupiter. So this is all kind of this interesting timing that's unfolding and making this weekend so powerful. And Venus is going to be over here on the 5.2. Jupiter was there recently, and I think we want to be really making sure we look through all of our connections, our finances, all of our different options before we're really making certain leaps in these new directions. I think we feel really motivated to. It's like, okay, come on already, like I'm ready for certain things to happen, but we want to stay suspicious of everything before we make these big moves and these big changes. Venus is coming into a trine with Mars over here in Aries too, and this is, Mars is on the 21.4 right now, and I think we have the support that we need right now in our lives to really gain the control we want back over our environments, our resources, what we're eating, just different things like that involving our own kind of like personal territory in space. But it's going to be a matter of strategizing correctly to utilize these resources properly, the connections properly, and the support in order to make it all work out properly. Now, we have Vesta over here in Aquarius. A lot of people probably won't necessarily be talking about this aspect because it's considered kind of smaller with it being an asteroid. But, back in the day, the asteroids were the goddesses, and they were considered on equal par with all the other major planets in the zodiac as well. So I really want to start to mention these aspects because the asteroids are vehicles for inner transformation. And I think with, Vesta over here on the 49.5 is coming into the square with Juno in Taurus on the 23.5. This is we're being asked to like, or called to kind of do what's best for us. And learning what we want, we're learning how to give to ourselves, and we kind of have to follow our own unique path when it comes to allocating certain resources to ourselves, this new direction. And, this could be kind of like triggering in different respects. The 49 is all about kind of like blindly reacting emotionally, but I think what is saying this weekend is we're learning how to not react so blindly to these uncomfortable emotional things and really step into this place of personal power. We can be more self-sufficient and more contained in our own personal energy. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Sunday here in this chart so we can look at that where we're coming into this eclipse. And Sunday, the sun's moved on to the 60.5, and the Earth is over here on the 56.5. And as we're developing solutions and this new story and structure for ourselves, we can also recognize that this new structure is temporary. It's like we're moving from one structure to a new structure, right? So we're always coming through breaking down these structures, meeting against new limitations. And what we're stepping into, this new story, is further on down the road, it's again going to be a limitation that we're running into, that we're uncomfortable with, that we have to leave behind. But we do need to solidify something in order to kind of like gain the attention that we need. This is all about like creating something that's going to allow us to attract certain kind of attention so that we can support ourselves, so that we can create this comfort. It's like I'm taking a stance in this new identity so that I can attract what I need in order to ground ourselves into this new story and go off in this new direction. The moon, of course, is going to oppose in Pluto and Mercury on Sunday. The moon will be on the 62.1 now, opposed Pluto on the 61.1, and these are programming partners. So this is really important aspects that we're going through. And I think we need to find comfort in ourselves in this new identity and truth before we really like are able to manifest this comfort externally that we want. This is like, looking deeply within and saying, okay, I am comfortable just in myself, in my own skin, and then we'll start to see the reflection of that world around us in the comfort coming in the external environment. And when opposing Mercury, this we can feel kind of deeply conflicted between holding ourselves back from what the universe is bringing us and also what our minds are starting to see as truth. Mercury has gone through so much over here in Capricorn. It's making its way through all these different difficult aspects and kind of like just kind of restricted energy. Capricorn for Mercury isn't most fun, but it's going to be coming into a conjunction with the South Node later, where we're going to be, looking even more at some of these limitations that we're running up against. But I think with this conjunction we've recently had with Pluto, we see our truth, but now we could kind of feel like, well, the universe is bringing us one situation. We know our truth. I think we're going to have to kind of be resourceful and adapt. That's what this lunar eclipse is really all about, is saying like, this lunar eclipse is going to happen with over here in like the basically like within the first degree of Mercury on like 0.45 or something like that. And then the sun will be over here in this opposite position close to the first degree of Aquarius. And this is on the 60.4 and the 56.4. And what this is saying is we're going to need to be resourceful in this new world, this new identity, this path, this journey that we're going on in order to create the comfort that we want. We're going to have to adapt and kind of be resourceful in order to get this happiness and this comfort that we want. And it's asking us to really like shine our light out, to tap into our hearts and to shine fully with our hearts and really adapt. And this may involve doing things that we really aren't that comfortable with sometimes, but ultimately this is going to lead to this comfort that we want, this new structure and story that's being created at this time. And I think this is also kind of saying that we're going to need to find a little bit of comfortability in the adaptation, in the resourcefulness. It's like we're realizing that all of these stories that we're crafting are just something that's in a continual basis of transformation. So it's this kind of like being comfortable with the journey itself and how things are developing and unfolding. The moon is, of course, going to conjunct the north node on the 56.1. This is asking, are we going to take these steps into this new world? And this could just be small little practical steps. It's just like, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. It's like that sort of vibe where it's just like, we just have to take these little steps and move forward and just trust that everything is going to kind of form around this. This is like jump in the net will appear. There's another saying that kind of comes to mind for this. So, yeah, just such big stuff going on. And, we're stepping into this new world that's going to be so beautiful coming here Monday into Tuesday. And let's have to wait until those reports, maybe tune in on Monday to see what that's going to be all about. I get into it a lot in my January forecast into everything that's unfolding. You can check that out at soulmapping.life/January 2019. So, going to be looking into the cards to see what's the overarching energy that we can expect for this eclipse that's happening on Sunday, and what can we tune into to help us navigate into this new world as we all step forward into something much more beautiful as this massive mutation that's going on really just kind of unfolds and moves through. And gate 35, which is progress and change. So a lot of big changes going on, a lot of expansion, a lot of forward progress in new directions into this new higher level of identity, this new world. So I hope this has been helpful for you. As always, tap into your innermost authority, see if it feels right for you. And thanks for tuning in to the Astral Weather Report.